So next up, podcast listeners, talk about disorder. 2 stories. These are important stories because it identifies a trend across America. What happens when you have disorder in America's cities? You have companies one by one that start closing their doors. Case in point, 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven recommends that all of their stores in the Los Angeles area, all of their stores, be closed due to recent deadly robberies. Now, folks, think about this. A 7-Eleven, by definition, tends to be in area, not always, but they tend to be located in areas that are poor or poorer. Why? Well, because the folks who are poor, and this is a fact, and it's a shame, right? Because part of this is education. They will oftentimes actually do their shopping at 7-Eleven. I mean, I'm talking about food shopping. And rather than go to the grocery store where the prices are clearly better, granted, we have inflation. Inflation is out of control. We all know that. But rather going to the place where you can get the best prices. So many people in the United States, they shop at 7-Eleven. And why? Because 7-Eleven is oftentimes the closest store for them to go to where they live. That's 7-Eleven's kind of mantra. They put stores, thousands and thousands and thousands of stores across the country. I don't know how many stores they have exactly, but it's many, many thousands. And they put them as close to you as possible, so it's convenient. That's why they call it a convenience store. Okay? That is 7-Eleven's thing. They have recommended not that 1, not that 2, but that all of the stores in Los Angeles be closed due to recent deadly robberies. So in Tokyo, this article starts out, this is the Gateway Pundit. In Tokyo, you can check in your bags for your flights at some 7-Elevens. Interesting. In Hong Kong, you can recharge your Octopus card that allows you to purchase almost anything and ride on the subway, ferries, and buses across the city. At all 7-Elevens, you can purchase drinks and snacks while you travel. But unfortunately, these stores won't be open for a second night in the area around Los Angeles, the Daily Caller reports. The 7-Eleven corporate leaders recommended Tuesday of this week that all of its Los Angeles County stores and greater Los Angeles area stores be closed for a second night in a row to allow police to investigate a series of deadly robberies. So why is that important? Well, because naturally, if you own a 7-Eleven or if you're working at a 7-Eleven and you're being targeted, well, you might not want to work there very much longer. So 7-Eleven's trying to protect its investment and protect its employees. And they have a picture of this guy. It's a black guy with a hoodie. And it says, if you have any information on this particular information, please call, the Los Angeles County Police Department or the Los Angeles Police Department. Folks, this is an example of defund the police. This is an example of what happens. You have disorder. And when you have disorder, you have the businesses that are in the area where people who can least afford to have businesses close, they end up closing. And then what happens? You have even more poverty because now all of those jobs are gone. Opportunity shrinks. You have less places to go to buy things. And so it's also in the Daily Caller, as I said, by all means, read this article. And that's not the only thing that's happened. Starbucks is closing 16 U.S. stores because of repeated safety issues. Now, we started out this segment by saying 7-Eleven, which does what? They cater to people who tend to be poorer because they tend to be located in poor neighborhoods. That's not to say I don't go to 7-Eleven. My daughter, for example, loves Slurpees. Who doesn't? Especially the Coke Slurpee. Nothing better than that, a Coke Slurpee. Or if you are in a hurry and you happen to pass 7-Eleven, naturally you want to buy a bottle of water or something real quick, that's where you go. I get it. But nonetheless, 7-Eleven has a tendency of catering to the demographic that tends to be less well off, okay? That's why we're also giving you an example of Starbucks, because Starbucks is the complete opposite of 7-Eleven, where they tend to cater to people who are well off or better off. And so this is happening across all business segments. So now we have Starbucks closing 16 stores because of repeated safety issues. Starbucks is closing 16 stores around the country because of safety issues, including drug use and other disruptive behaviors that threaten staff. The coffee giant is closing 6 stores in its hometown of Seattle, 6 in Los Angeles, 2 in Portland, Oregon, and 1 each in Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. Starbucks said employees at those stores will be given the opportunity to transfer to other stores. Starbucks said Tuesday the closures are part of a larger effort to respond to staff concerns and make sure stores are safe and welcoming. So I know one of these stores, and I can speak to it, in Washington, D.C., Union Station. One of the most beautiful train stations in the United States of America. It's beautiful. It's in Washington, D.C. Stunning, stunning train station. Architectural masterpiece. You get out of your Amtrak train and you walk up, the staircase, and you have like what's basically a shopping mall. But the mayor of Washington, D.C. has decided that it's okay for the drug users, the dangerous, many of whom are very dangerous, and everyone else to just like hang out in Union Station. So you get accosted nonstop while you're there. Businesses have closed inside of Union Station, and now Starbucks has closed. Who in their right mind, when they take a train, because you're traveling, let's say, between Washington, D.C. and New York, or Washington and Philly, who in their right mind wouldn't say, hey, I've got an extra 5 minutes. I'm going to stop at Starbucks and get some coffee because I'm going to go on the train. And let's face it, the coffee on the train is awful. So, why wouldn't you stop at Starbucks and get some coffee? You can't now. It's not there. It's closed. So I'm speaking to the location that I know because I've been to Union Station many times. And this is an example of disorder, of what happens in American cities. What happens in America's cities when you have blue mayors, and these mayors don't really care about keeping order and keeping these dangerous people away from you. I mean, these are people that just want to destroy our economy, or do they not, Chris, do they even understand what they're doing? The mayors, do they really understand? I don't think they do. And in front of one Starbucks, by the way, there's a picture. It says, we were very pleased to have Bernie Sanders visit our store location last Saturday, because Bernie Sanders stopped at the South Burlington, Vermont Starbucks because he wants to unionize Starbucks. Okay, so think about this. Starbucks is closing stores, like one of the most successful chains across America, who's expanding, finds it necessary to contract in the places that you'd want them to expand in the most, like in America's cities. And then Bernie Sanders is like, well, that's not good enough. We want you to unionize. Starbucks, yeah, you want us to unionize? We'll just shut the stores down. Because after all, we're already having problems with vagrants and people ripping us off and drug addicts and just pure decay of the city around us. So we've decided, we're just going to close. Why wouldn't we? And that's what disorder does. That's what Democrat leadership does.